BFR, what does it stand for? Blood flow restriction. A breakthrough technique for women, and not a lot of people know about it, is the amount of result I got with it, which blew me away. I was like, why is this not being talked about as a legitimate science-backed alternative to heavy lifting? I just got back from a 2-month trip and I took my bands and tubing, and I could do 15-minute workout 2 or 3 times a week and maintain my fitness. What happens is you accumulate lactate. That lactate would only be there if you're working really hard. So your brain reads that high lactate as, wow, that was a massive fatigue event we just did. We need to adapt. So we're gonna produce human growth hormone. BFR produces not just a little bit, but significantly more human growth hormone than other types of training. Human growth hormone is responsible for building muscle, building bone, reducing belly fat, improving energy, and improving brain function.
Hey there, I'm Bria, and welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. If you're over 35 and ready for real answers about your hormones, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and stay with us. Hey there, sisters. Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast. Today we're going to dive into a topic that I feel like is near and dear to my heart, because if there is one thing I want women to understand about aging well, it's that power of building and maintaining muscle while supporting your nervous system. And I know that many of you out there are working really hard in the gym. You're lifting weights, you're doing the things that you think you're supposed to do, and yet you're still really frustrated because your body composition isn't changing. Maybe your joints are hurting. Maybe you're simply not just seeing the results that you want. So that's why I am so excited to welcome today's guest, Ashley Selman. Ashley has been a strength coach for more than 30 years, so she knows what she's talking about, working with everyone from elite athletes to everyday people who simply really just want to feel stronger, want to feel healthier, and more confident in their bodies. She's the founder of Evolution Trainers, one of Silicon Valley's most respected strength training facilities, and the creator of Seli Strength, a virtual training platform built around the idea of training smarter, not harder, one that I am very excited to be checking out after this call. Today, we're talking about a fascinating approach of strength training called blood flow restriction training, or BFR. How it can help women build muscle without lifting heavy weights, that often overlooked role of human growth hormone in healthy aging, and what women in perimenopause and menopause really need to know if they want to improve their strength, their metabolism, and their long-term health. So, Ashley, welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for the great introduction. I'm excited to talk today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. You certainly had a big career that is still protecting here amidst having a young family.
Yep.
What drew you into strength training, and what's kept you passionate about it for all of these years?
Yeah, well, okay, so I was an athlete in college, in high school and college, and
What did you
I
do?
was a very diligent athlete. I was in track, and I did the heptathlon, and then I ended up specializing in the javelin of all things, and I was a 2-time national champion. Yeah.
Oh goodness, congratulations. That's
So thank
amazing.
you. I mean, it was a lifetime ago,
Hmm.
but what I learned during that time, I was a very just like diligent athlete. I studied biomechanics. I, really looked at my strength training and my periodization. Obviously, I had great coaches, but what I didn't realize is all of that kind of paying attention to the details.
Mm.
I never knew I was going to be a trainer or a coach. But it equipped me so well because I understood the detail of how the body responds to movement, how to correct movement, the nuances of program design. So I just kind of after I was done being an athlete, I started coaching athletes and I started being a strength coach. And I just kind of fell into that without any intention. But because I always had such a passion for movement, it's just kept being an interest for me. And then the other thing, how I've stayed passionate is just there's so much to learn about. I mean, our bodies are so amazing and so complex. And BFR is a great example. It's like something brand new. It's not brand new, but I just learned about it a few years ago after 30 years of my career. And it's continued to fascinate, new things like that fascinate me. So
Yeah, I'm super excited to dig into the BFR, but I love what you
yeah.
talked about there about the details, like even just the details of proper form that I definitely think are not talked about enough in the industry. And I think it even took me, even being in the fitness industry for so long, a long time to recognize in the body what that even means. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's not a priority?
That's a good question. I mean, the nuances, partly it's hard to coach. Like, you can watch someone move and you might think they're moving correctly and they're still not recruiting the right muscles.
Yeah.
So it's a nuanced thing to learn, but it is very important because not only the obvious importance is to not injure yourself, right? Like, if your form is really incorrect, you're going to injure yourself. But the other thing is like getting the results you want, recruiting the muscles you want, creating the biomechanics you want, and that takes quite a bit of uh, depth of knowledge, I would say. And so I think the people who are passionate about that, sounds like that you're passionate about that, and as you progress in your career, you got more into that. And
Yeah.
that's as an athlete, I was very passionate about that myself, and then I switched that into focusing on other people. And people call me kind of eagle eye in the gym because I will definitely like
Correct.
detect for, like, my little alarm goes off in my head. Like, uh-oh. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. And we don't even realize, like, obviously, we're talking to women here. A lot of women have gone through like pregnancy and childbirth, which really, I think, numbs out it, like, and disintegrates certain muscles, but also just the nature of our life now where we're just
Mhm.
consistently doing repetitive sitting or repetitive movement and not even recognizing like our glutes aren't firing or different
Right.
parts and engaging that, the pelvic floor muscle.
That's such a good point, because when a muscle becomes dormant for whatever reason, whether because your quads are too tight so your glutes won't fire,
Yeah.
or your core doesn't fire because post pregnancy those fibers were overly stretched, and you have to intentionally rewire that programming. And if you don't intentionally do some of that, it tends to stay
Yeah.
the way it last was left. So it
Yeah.
takes some intentionality, but it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said stay the way it last was left. It's true. And we're so busy these days, we don't even notice
Yeah,
anything that's
yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Um, is that what helped you, start thinking more about women or helping women, in midlife, particularly after training elite athletes?
So I became a personal trainer on the side while I was coaching, not thinking I was going to be a personal trainer. But then I really started loving um, what an enormous impact you can have on someone's life. Like, it's different. Like, coaching athletes is kind of sexy. It's like exciting, but but you're kind of working on like 1-2% improvements, where when you're working with a general fitness client that's
Yeah.
looking to improve their fitness, like, you can make a giant impact on their life. And I think as I became more got farther away from my years as an athlete and more into just my own fitness journey, and I've had lots of struggles in my fitness journey, and every struggle I had made me be able to relate to my client that much more, or a different type of client. And as I've grown into midlife, I'm 55. I went into menopause at freaking 43, which sucked.
That's early.
And I had a hip replacement at 43 also. And so not the best year of my life, I would say.
Um,
Um, and really struggled through my 40s and learned a lot and had a lot of hard lessons, and how to and so I don't know, just the empathy that has created for me and what women go through, and then discovering a technique that I feel like is literally a breakthrough for women, and not a lot of people know about it. It's like it's just become this passion project to like get the word out and help women who are struggling, because I was there, and I feel better at 55, by the way, than I did at 40. And so there's hope for the ones that are in it, in the thick
yeah.
of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's not always going to stay that way, but it can really feel daunting when you're in that perimenopause or early menopause
Yeah.
phase.
Do you mind if I ask what you noticed in your body during that major hormonal shift for you?
Yeah, the two biggest things, I didn't struggle with weight gain as much. I think just genetically that wasn't my issue, but I lost a lot of muscle and I had a lot of injuries. So I had a torn plantar fascia. I was in a boot for 9 months. I had frozen shoulder. I had just coming off the hip replacement. I lost like 8 pounds of muscle in just a few years, no matter how. I mean, I'm a trainer. I was an athlete. I know how to lift. I was doing all the things I thought I should be doing, and just my body was not responding. And if anything, it was just getting more beat up. And so I really felt like in a catch 22, like I either need to throw the towel in and just work out light and know that I'm going to lose fitness, which I didn't want to do, or push myself and feel like crap and hurt. And so
Yeah.
I really felt like I was in a no-win situation, which was, I mean, I was worried about my future health. I felt like if I feel like this in my 40s, what am I going to feel like in my 50s, 60s, 70s?
Yeah.
So it was a mental and like psychological issue as much as it was physical.
Yeah, it really can do your head in a little bit, can't it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
For someone like you in the fitness industry, it's like it's an identity issue, I think.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. Yeah. Hmm.
that must have been really hard. I am hoping that what we're gonna talk about today is some of the things that you did that helped. So,
For sure. Yep.
firsthand
Exactly.
experience, that's great.
Exactly.
What are you seeing that like these days that traditional fitness approaches aren't addressing?
So the traditional fitness approaches now that you start here, first of all, I think it's amazing that there's now so much talk about strength training for women. I
Yeah.
think that's an awesome shift away from just cardio all the time. And especially as we get to midlife, and I'm sure you've talked about this many times before, that cardio is not going to be the thing that keeps us healthy as we age, right? It's going to be the strength training. The problem is now there's all this talk about heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. As we go through perimenopause and menopause and our estrogen starts to decline, our muscles don't fire as well. So, in order to get them to fire, we have to give them a bigger stimulus. We have to wake them up. We have to push them. But we're also the most fragile we've ever been because of the change in hormones.
Yeah.
50% of women who go through hormone change start having joint pain. Most women grew up on cardio, so now they're midlife having maybe some joint pain or issues, and now they're being told to lift heavy for the first time in their life without any background. And lifting heavy is a skill. You don't just go do it one day, right? It's something you need to build over time. So I just think the advice of heavy lifting, although it's not wrong, the science is there. The practical application for women, it's just not the right fit in midlife for most women. Now, if you're out there listening to this and you're like, wait a minute, I love heavy lifting, I feel great. Awesome. That's amazing. You are not the majority,
Yeah.
right? Keep it going. If you feel great heavy lifting, that's great. But the more women I talk to, especially now that I'm talking about this and how much it hurt my body to lift heavy, most women I talk to are like, oh my gosh, I've tried heavy lifting and it hurts, or I can't, I feel so sore for days, or just like I'm scared to heavy. Like there's a lot of obstacles around heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like there needs to be another alternative. And that's why I felt like I was in the catch 22 because I didn't think there was another alternative. And now I kind of stumbled upon this alternative that's been around for decades, mostly in physical therapy. But the amount of result I got with it, which blew me away, I was like, why is this not, being talked about as a legitimate science-backed alternative to heavy lifting?
And why do you think it's not?
Ooh, good question. Well, first of all, it's called blood flow restriction, which is a horrible name. And
Yeah.
people first think like, why would I ever want to restrict my blood while I'm exercising? And that's a really good question because it sounds really counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But the first thing I'll say about that, it's not even close to fully restricting your blood. It's not even restricting your arterial flow, which is the blood coming into your muscles at all. It's slightly restricting the venous flow, leaving the muscle. And really what it's doing is it's just increasing fatigue and causing a little bit of hypoxia in the muscle for or like low oxygen for a short period of time, which does all these amazing things actually. So the name is bad. It got started with a lot of male culture. I'm going to say it was like bodybuilders and the people wanting to push the envelope and do it harder and more pressure. And so in the early days, there were injuries, there were things that didn't go well because they're just being super extreme with this technique. And you don't have to be extreme for this technique to be effective. It's actually very approachable because you're using super light weights, literally like 3 pounds, 5 pounds, and 8 pound dumbbells is pretty much all we use in my program. If you're advanced, maybe 10 pounds. But, and those weights, which before I got into BFR, I wouldn't tell a woman to go lift 3 pound weight and expect that she's going to get these great results that she needs to get as she ages. But that's the fascinating thing about blood flow restriction, that those weights can still get you the same results as heavy lifting when you add the BFR bands to them.
Oh, okay. I'm really, really excited to hear more about this for sure. And so, one last thing before we dive into it, because
Yeah.
everyone's like, tell us more about it. Let's just outline, you talked a little bit about why, obviously, like working out and why this whole concept now of lifting heavy is important. But let's talk a little bit about why muscle is so important
Mm.
for women in their 40s and 50s and beyond.
This is another thing that I am glad there's starting to be more and more conversations about this. I think muscle used to be thought of just like how you look, and I want, if the bodybuilder look, or, being really strong was in, or for a lot of women not in. They didn't want to be look strong. But muscle is an organ. A lot of people don't even realize muscle's an organ. It's the biggest organ from a total mass standpoint of your whole body.
Yeah.
Like, people don't realize that. Well, it is the most important organ for longevity because it's the center of just about every process in the body. It manages our blood sugar, it manages our metabolism. If you have strong muscles, you're going to have strong bones. If you have strong muscles, you're going to have healthy mitochondria. If you have strong muscles, your brain is going to function better. It really is the basis of how our body functions. And when you start losing muscle as you get older, all of those functions start to decline along with it. So it really is what is called now the organ of longevity. And I agree with that.
Yeah, I fully agree with that too. It is how we support our hormonal health as well as we lose our hormones fundamentally.
Yep,
So,
exactly. Hmm.
okay, let's talk about it. So tell us a bit more about BFR, about body flow restriction training. Yeah, can you
Yeah.
explain what it is? Yeah, how we do it,
Yeah.
everything we need to know about it.
So blood flow restriction, it's you wear these specialized cuffs. And I think that's the other thing that was developed like in the 1960s in Japan, but it took them years to really fine tune what the cuffs should be like because you're wearing them on your body, on your upper arms and your upper legs. And you want them to restrict your venous blood flow, the blood leaving your muscle, enough to increase fatigue and cause hypoxia, which is low oxygen, but you don't want them to restrict so much that it causes pain or muscle injury or interrupts arterial flow. So they spent 40 years figuring that out. And now there's bands out there that do exactly that without you having to worry about that. They take care of themselves to do the right amount of restriction. So that was a key thing to make them accessible. Now they're fitness, people can use them for fitness because you can now use them by yourself on your own safely, where 20 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. But it restricts, it squeezes your arm. It shouldn't cause pain. I've heard some people who have tried it say, oh, it was so painful. It should not be painful. It does not have to be painful to be effective. You feel pressure, you feel a squeeze, and the discomfort, quote unquote, is that you really feel the muscle fatigue and the burn in the muscle. So if you've ever done a really hard set and at the very end of the set, you feel that burn and fatigue, that happens with BFR using 3-pound dumbbells or 5-pound dumbbells. And that's because, I'm trying to get too technical, but we have two types of muscle fibers. We have our endurance muscle fibers, which are called our type 1, and we have our power muscle fiber called type 2.
Okay.
Our power muscle fibers, really important for women as we get older, but it's the muscle type that we lose the fastest as we get older.
Hmm.
Because as we get older, it's harder to recruit those because the only way you recruit the power muscles is by doing something really hard, heavy lifting
Right.
or sprinting. As we get older, 50s, 60s, 70s, that gets harder to do on our body. Blood flow restriction decreases oxygen, which is the only fuel our type 1, our endurance muscles use. They live on oxygen. So when you reduce that oxygen source, our power muscles have to get involved, even when you have 3 pounds in your hand. And so all of a sudden, we are building a ton of type 2 muscle fibers at a load that our body can handle, that's not causing joint pain, that's not putting us into major fatigue and soreness for days, that our body can quickly recover from, even as we get older and our recovery is slower as we get older. But this type of training you can recover from because it's not breaking down your muscle fibers so much. You're not needing to rebuild. It's a metabolic stimulus that is actually what happens is you accumulate lactate, which is the byproduct of type 2 fibers. So sorry if I'm getting a little technical, but it's interesting. That lactate would only be there if you're working really hard. So your brain, and it's circulating in your blood, your pituitary gland reads that high lactate as, wow, that was a massive fatigue event we just did. We need to adapt. So we're going to produce human growth hormone. and other IGF-1, some other anabolic hormones, but human growth hormone is the main one. And most people have heard of that.
Yeah.
That hormone, it's been studied, and BFR produces not just a little bit, but significantly more human growth hormone than other type of training. And human growth hormone is key for anyone as they get older, but particularly women in midlife, because human growth hormone goes off a cliff with estrogen in midlife. Nobody talks about that. Human growth hormone is responsible for building muscle, building bone, reducing belly fat, improving energy, and improving brain function. A lot of the things that we think of as menopause, and we often blame on estrogen, a lot of it's actually human growth hormone. And I've tested this because I have some clients who are on estrogen suppressants because they've had cancer and they gain weight, they lose muscle,
Yeah.
they have brain fog. We've tried BFR and they've reversed all those symptoms and they're still on estrogen suppressants. So the only thing that changed is that they produce more human growth hormone.
So this type of training allows us to basically recruit more, of the response we need in order to create human growth hormone, in order to create these bigger muscles that we are really looking for that's going to support us in menopause and aging.
Yeah, it allows us to build those power muscles under a light load. It's the only way we could build our power muscles without having to lift heavy. And it produces a big response of human growth hormone, which is the biggest anti-aging hormone in our body.
Yeah.
So there are two very big results that it causes.
And that is huge. I mean, we already talked about kind of, I think, the joint pain that can happen, but it's not easy to, as you say, lift heavy. Even if you have your form right, like it is not easy. I
Hmm.
find it even challenging, you know,
Hmm.
and especially if you need to work out of your home gym, for example,
Hmm.
have all the correct, heavy weights, the correct, bars or the correct machines that we can use. So this is something we can do at home in our own home with a much
Correct.
bigger weight set that's going to get us equal, if not better results that protect our body.
I have a virtual program with this, and all we use is light dumbbells and exercise tubing in our whole program. And you get results as if you have access to a whole gym with all the equipment.
I know what women are, or I'm thinking this. I'm assuming the listeners are thinking this too. So one, is this do we need to do this 5 days a week? Do we need to do this 6 days a week? Like, how many days a week are we doing this? How long are these workouts? Like, what is
Mm.
needed for, results?
Good question. I can't believe I didn't talk about that. The other amazing thing about BFR is the workouts are really short, 20 minutes or less.
Oh,
And that's because the fatigue happens really quickly. So within the first couple minutes, you are in lactate burn that you wouldn't normally, it would take when you're lifting heavy, not only do you only get lactate burn at the very end of a set, and then you have to rest, and then you have to do another. So it's inefficient. Most of the workout, you're not in that lactate burn. You have to push yourself to get there. With BFR, you're in the lactate burn the majority of the workout. So when someone's first starting, I have them start with 6-minute workouts because it's so stimulating that if they started at 20, they would be so fatigued and they'd produce too much cortisol because their body's not used to that amount of stimulus. In 6 minutes, they're still going to get more human growth hormone than they're probably getting in an hour workout in the gym, unless it's someone really advanced in the gym. But I'm talking about the average midlife woman going to the gym. It's hard to get that much lactate stimulus. So the workouts are really short. And what we've found, we did a 6-month study and we experimented 3 times 15 minutes a week if it's someone who's not doing a lot of strength training already, like this is maybe they do a lot of cardio or regular strength training hasn't worked for them, right? 3 times 25 minutes if it's someone that's a little more intermediate or advanced that does some strength training but maybe isn't seeing the results, or maybe their joints are hurting but they already have some foundation with strength training. 3 times 25 minutes, and that's kind of the two we offer, both those in our program, but that's kind of the volumes that we recommend. I have seen people get results even with 2 times a week, but um, three is really what I think the optimal is. You don't really want to do much more than that.
So 3 times 15 to 25 minutes a week is all we really need to do.
Yeah.
And what are we doing on the other days? Anything in terms of like recovery, that you recommend, that you find for, again, optimal body composition, but also just optimal health?
Yeah. Yeah. So we recommend lots of light movement and light activity and maybe zone 2 cardio and mobility. So what you want to get in midlife in particular, you want, and this is what a lot of women get wrong, and it makes me so sad for them because like I know they're trying to do everything right, but they're doing a lot of moderate intensity, and I don't mean light moderate, I mean hard moderate. So it feels hard. It's like a 45-minute class and you're drenched in sweat by the end. And but your intense, the peak of your intensity is still moderate. You're not really pushing because you can't do that consistently for 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in midlife, you need that extra intensity. That's why people talk about heavy because those muscles need that higher stimulus.
Mhm.
The higher the intensity is, the less volume you can do. So we don't need a lot of intensity. We just need enough to get the stimulation. And then to support that, we need lots of foundational movement and kind of just not sitting all the time and walking and light cardio and mobility
Yeah.
to keep our tissues kind of mobile. And to me, that's the nice balance because the movement and the light cardio, that's going to still burn calories and that's going to burn fat calories actually. But the intensity is going to build muscle, which is going to support our metabolism by having a faster kind of at rest metabolism by having healthier muscles. So you want some high intensity, but not a lot of volume, and then lots of light um, exercise and activities. Yeah.
Like whatever fun activity you like enjoy doing,
Yeah.
the walking, yoga, any, as he said, mobility, he loved Pilates, things like that, all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So we are following the program, where we're doing these 3 workouts per week, 3 BFR workouts. We've got the bands, and are the bands
Yep.
everywhere on the body? Like, where do the bands go?
Just upper arms and upper legs.
Okay.
So you have 4 bands, yep, and that restricts, so people think, "Oh, so is it only working your arms and legs then?" But
Yeah.
actually, it works everything, especially when you acclimate to the bands and you can start wearing all 4, your core if you, like, do a plank without the bands or a plank with the bands, you'll notice you fatigue out much more quickly with the bands on. And the other thing is, once our body is producing human growth hormone, that goes to every cell of our body. So
Oh,
if we're doing bicep curls, but we're getting a human growth hormone response, and then we start doing push-ups and core, like it's impacting those muscle groups as well. So they've done studies on this, and it impacts all the muscles of your body.
that's fascinating. Is there actual, like, do you have actual numbers and research on how much more human growth hormone we typically pulse when we're using BFR?
I haven't done it, but there is research. There was one study that showed an incredible, it was like 27 times the amount of human growth hormone.
Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Versus, I think it was just with the basic bicep curl with BFR versus not. And that was with so if you're a highly trained athlete, and by the way, highly trained athletes use BFR a lot because they know, but it gives them a small edge. But the average person is not getting much human growth hormone release in midlife and beyond at all. So it's a giant difference. Um, it's hard, like, I can't, it's a hard thing to measure, you have to have a lab, and so you can't just measure
Yeah.
yourself, but you can kinda, I mean, people feel it. People start sleeping better. Human growth hormones are
Yes.
critical to our sleep and specifically our deep sleep. And so without me even talking about it, I've had so many people say, wow, my sleep has gotten so much better. Could that be because of this? Like, yeah, it's the human growth hormones. So there are other signs, partly feeling stronger, feeling energetic, muscle adapting right away, sleeping, that kind of are signs that you're getting the right response and you're getting that human growth hormone response.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, when I think about like our most dense human growth hormone time, you think about our teenagers, you think about puberty,
Hmm.
about when
Exactly.
and what are they doing? They're sleeping more, they're hungrier more, they're moving more, like they're just constantly, and that's one of the benefits. And it ultimately helps the body, the whole body, as you say, function more. So it will help your existing hormones pulse more as well.
Correct. Yep. A
Wow.
lot of the hormones are really interrelated. And the other thing is cortisol and human growth hormone are opposite. So when cortisol is high, human growth hormone will be low. If you can get a boost in human growth hormone, cortisol will drop. So it is especially if you're not, that's why if you do BFR for too long, you will bypass into cortisol and tank. So that's why we want a short signal to get that human growth hormone without getting the cortisol. But you're right, all of our hormones kind of interplay with each other, and we still are learning. I mean, we still are learning how every hormone interplays with each other. Um but yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
It is very fascinating. I mean, especially when obviously I think in today's market in the wellness industry, we're seeing a massive boom in like peptide therapy. And
Hmm.
people are paying a lot of money for
Hmm.
peptides that help, you know, peptide releasing or hormone growth hormone releasing peptide
Mhm.
and helping it pulse more. But this does that without that. Like 27
Correct.
times is massive.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah, and I think what I would say is like anything that you take as a supplement, not there's can be some great supplements out there, but I heard someone give this analogy, like your workouts are the cake, your protein is the icing, and your supplements are the sprinkles.
Oh,
So like if you're not getting the right stimulus in your workouts, all those supplements are going to do
yeah.
very little.
Yeah.
um and internally producing your own human growth hormone is going to be more powerful than ingest. Now maybe that's helping to trigger human growth hormone, but it's just not the same pathway as creating it from a stimulus, um from your workouts.
Yeah, no, I see that. So, thinking about the fact that too much of BFR can actually then like turn, push our cortisol, which we don't want in midlife.
Right.
We already have enough of that happening without our efforts.
Exactly.
And in fact, I
Yeah.
have clients where I know we actually have to pull workouts entirely. I have a lot of clients because they just don't even have the cortisol capacity for
Mm,
this. So
hmm.
I think we think a lot
Yeah.
about too much cortisol, but one of the biggest concerns I see when I'm looking at like hormone labs in my clients is not enough. And I think that's way more dangerous. But if we understand that BFR like too much can go that way, do you cycle it? Like in terms of like, okay, we do these 3 BFR workouts per week for 4 weeks and then we take time off, or is it safe enough that we're following the program that it can be done
Hmm.
continuously for results?
Yeah, I don't cycle it in my program. I mean, we do coaching calls with people to see how they're feeling, and obviously if someone's feeling really fatigued, but instead of cycling, what I do is I reduce the time
Okay.
until we get. So I've had some people with things like Hashimoto's or
Yeah.
low thyroid, and even just a few minutes of BFR, like if they're doing 6 minutes, it's pushing them, it's too much. So we got to drop them back to 3 minutes, but they'll get incredible results. I had a woman with Hashimoto's that worked out 5 days a week, heavy lifting, cardio, all of it. She used to be a trainer. She knew what she was doing, gaining weight, was on, one of the women I talked about on estrogen suppressants. So frustrated, started doing BFR, lost 22 pounds. Her triglycerides went from 152 down to 60.
Oh my
Um,
massive.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, she sent me before and after pictures, like, which I don't even take before and after pictures, but like she just sent it to me herself. Like amazing, amazing change. And the only change she made was BFR. And it's because when our body, especially if our thyroid is drained or we have this stress, like you said, too much stress is not good. So regular workouts are hard to get enough stimulus to get you results without getting the too much stress response. So you're in this very like weird, like you got to push yourself. Oh, but wait, we don't want the stress response. It's like there's like no way to win that.
Yeah.
But BFR gets that stress response so fast without load that it doesn't cause as much of a stress response. Now, like I said, if you do it for too long, yeah, eventually you're going to get the stress response because it's just very taxing on your body to get that much stimulus. So we do it more. I like people doing it regularly 3 times a week. So they're getting that hormonal response consistently. Human growth hormone will stay in your body for about 48 hours. So we want to get that every couple days.
Yeah.
But if it's too much, if by the end of the week, if they're feeling fatigued, we back it down. The reason why we don't need to cycle off is because you actually shouldn't feel fatigued. You should feel more energy at the end of the workout and through the rest of the day. The next morning, you should not feel sore, maybe light soreness at the most, but you should not feel sore and beat up. If either one of those things are happening, if you're feeling fatigued after your workout or you're sore the next morning, you did too much and we want to back off. If we have you in the sweet spot, you're never getting into that fatigue cycle. That's what's a little hard for people to wrap their brain around because they're so used to a hard workout leaves you fatigued
Yeah.
and leaves you sore. And now you need to recover. And now you better have an off week because, man, you've been trashing your body. This is not like that. It's like this perpetual, like energizing, stimulating workout that's not breaking you down.
Do you find I love that you brought up that point. Do you find that you have clients that in a way they're mentally addicted to that kind of like drain that happens post was a hard transition? And if so, how do you support them through that?
It just takes a lot of education. I have women that if they don't feel sore the next day, they're like, "Oh, I didn't. That workout wasn't worth it. I didn't have a good workout." It's like, no, we just have to re-educate how this is different and what this approach is getting results through our metabolic pathway, not through breaking down our muscle and causing inflammation. So I mean, in heavy lifting, it's also metabolic, but it's also this kind of muscle breaking. And some people even think that if you're not tearing down your muscle to rebuild, you won't get stronger. That's just not true. And if you try BFR and you get strong fast, you'll realize that that's actually not that important. I think that's been a byproduct of heavy lifting that is now thought of, oh, that's important to feel that sort. It's like it's not. It's the metabolic, our brain and the way our body responds to hormones has so much more power over how our body adapts to something than tearing down our tissue to try to let it rebuild. That's so inefficient.
That's super fascinating. I'm really excited to try. I'm like, um, I know obviously you mentioned in your program, like you have a coaching component. And I mean, I'm clearly a huge believer in coaching. I think it's so supportive, but is this something that people can, purchase online and do on their own? Or do you feel like they very much need that additional supportive coaching as well?
Yeah. Yeah, with my program, we have three options. We sell the bands that I've tried all the bands on the market, and these are the safest, most comfortable, which actually is a big deal because when they're comfortable, you're more likely to do it. They're also the easiest to use. You don't need an app, you don't need technology. You just can go and do whatever you want with them. So but I at least recommend if someone gets the bands through us, we offer a free 30-day intro program to get them ramped up. Because I think it's really important to understand the basic principles and protocols so that you're doing it properly.
Wow.
If you know a lot about exercise, once you learn the protocols, it's not super hard to figure out and program in because you can really do the same exercise you're doing. You just want to make sure you're going a lot lighter, you're doing higher repetitions, and your workouts are shorter. We've got to follow those three principles to get the results we want without overloading.
Wow.
Um, but the intro program is a great way to on ramp. And but for most of our clients who aren't let's say pretty expert in fitness or advanced levels in fitness, having some ongoing coaching, even if it's short period of time, is good. So we have a $99 coaching and we have a 199, and the difference is really just how much one-on-one time you get. The 199 you get one-on-one coaching, the 99 it's all group coaching, but you still get and you get unlimited email support. So it's still very supportive. We want to very much feel like you're not alone in this if you're doing our coaching program. It's not like just digital content like that you're just get like Peloton where you get all this digital content. There's tons, but there's not a human that's watching what you're doing and talking to you and supporting you and answering questions. Um, but our program is really, we progress through the program. We teach you once you get through that 30-day program, we have a lot more variety. So you kind of learn different ways to use it. And then some of our clients, one of our mottos is press play, get results. It's like we give you exactly what to do each week. You press play on the workouts 3 days a week, and the results will come because we're doing the programming and the thinking about the program for you. So if you're someone who loves to do your own programming, awesome. But most people who aren't in fitness, that can be overwhelming, or they're just doing random exercise, which is okay, but you're not going to get as big of a result just doing random
Yeah.
classes than something that actually has a programming aspect to it that's building and has the right combination of we want to hit muscle groups twice a week.
Yeah.
We don't want to hit them a lot. We don't want to hit them a lot more than that. We don't want to hit them, once a week. So it's kind of built into the program.
What and maybe this is included in the program, but even just your thoughts on it, like what do women in midlife need to know about nutrition to support this type of activity?
We don't do nutrition coaching, quote unquote, but we do. The big thing we talk about is how to fuel your workouts because I think that's where a lot of people miss. I know women hear a lot about protein, and that is very important.
Yeah.
You want to fuel your workout with some carbohydrates and a little protein before, especially with BFR, because you're going to use more glucose. BFR is actually really good for blood sugar because it's using glucose in the workout a lot more than a typical workout, which means you're creating more space in your muscles for more glucose to be deposited. So little glucose before the workout, but then really important, the most important of the day is protein after the workout because blood flow restriction um hyper turns on protein synthesis a lot. Like that is one of its key that it causes cellular swelling, it turns on protein synthesis. And what that means is your body's ready to build protein, but the building block I mean, sorry, your body's ready to build muscle,
Yeah.
but it needs protein as the building block. So your body's sort of like, okay, we want to build, give us our fuel. And
Yeah.
so that's a great window to get your 30 grams of protein in. And then ideally, we kind of coach 100 grams of protein a day. I think for a lot of women, more than that gets so hard to do.
Oh,
But we found that 90 to 100 is really enough, especially when you're doing BFR and you're fueling that workout, that you're going to still be able to build muscle.
oh, I love that. And I mean, I'm a big believer in like test, don't guess when it comes to supplementation, but are there that you find are generally like really supportive of this type of training?
Say that again. Like,
Are
is
there any
what?
supplements that you find like these
Oh,
are
oh,
these
oh,
days,
got it.
like that I always think of like good generalized supplements for women in midlife. We're talking about
Mhm.
magnesium, we're talking about your trace minerals, we're talking about potentially some creatine. Like, are there any that you find
Mhm.
are most impactful and supportive for this type of training?
Actually, for our program, the one supplement we recommend is creatine. And partly because I used to take creatine as an athlete. And at the time, I thought it was just for athletes because you got to work out pretty hard to get the fatigue of the ATP, the phosphate system to need to supplement. But as we get older, we lose creatine. Women already have less of it than men. But when you're doing BFR, you're working that ATP pathway a lot more than you would otherwise. And I know that's getting sciencey, but basically you're using phosphate. Creatine is replacing that phosphate, which is your quick energy to create power, essentially. It also helps us recover. So it's a great supplement. I mean, it's did, and it's so well known for helping women maintain muscle, recover, brain health. There's enough benefits, and I feel really good about that supplement. I'm not a big, uh, I don't recommend a bunch of supplements to people, but that is one that we encourage women to take when they're doing our program.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's just nice to hear that, obviously. And are you kind of, when you recommend taking it, is it sort of that initial dose of like 5 grams, or what do you?
Yeah, we just do 5 grams daily. You don't need to do a build phase or anything like that. And there has been some research showing that more than that is good for brain health. So
Yeah.
if someone has a concern about brain health, like it's, you know, Alzheimer's runs in their family, or for some reason they have it, then I might even encourage to take them 10. But in general, I just say five grams a day.
Yeah. I've been seeing some of that research come out recently. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I have a good understanding of this. Is this, is this the only type of training that you do now? Like what? Yeah. Tell us about you.
Good question. So I still own a gym, a physical facility. I've had it for 20 years and I still train clients there. Every client I train in my gym now, though, I use BFR with. But if I'm doing them for an hour session, obviously I don't use BFR the whole hour. I'll mix it in. I'll do some corrective exercise. Maybe I'll do a couple heavy things like prowler or carries or sled pushes, and then I put BFR in there. But I would say I'm spending more of my time now in general on this virtual program. Again, that I didn't plan to start a business but it's just been such an um
Okay.
exciting thing, and somehow I'm kind of pioneering this in the fitness world, especially for women. And I'm actually doing a certification with ACE this summer for trainers, which is going to be huge because a lot of trainers don't fully understand it, and there's some misinformation about, like, is it safe, and there's so much research now that it's a safe, proven, and it's going to be amazing to have ACE backing it because they're very science and conservative. So the fact that they're putting their stamp of approval on it is going to really tell the fitness world that this is a safe, respectable mode of training. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. Congrats. That's very exciting.
Yeah,
But I
thank
think you're
you.
gonna normalize it a little bit more. It sounds
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
For every woman listening, what do you wish is one piece of fitness advice that you wish women in midlife would stop hearing? Like just disappear
Yeah.
like from their brains.
We talked about heavy lifting a little bit. The other one is progressive overload. Um, it's such a thrown around term now, like, oh, you got a progressive overload, which again, it's not wrong, but so many people misunderstand it. It's the number one way that women are getting hurt. Um, and it's because people think progression is linear, which it's so not. And they also think overload means the load you're lifting. And what it's really talking about is the stress on your body. And there's so many ways to change the stress than load. But everybody looks at your weight. Oh, go up and weight, go up and weight, go up and weight. You're going to get hurt doing that if you're doing that too fast. So it's more like change volume, change um speed of movement. You can slow way down, or you can speed way up, or you can change the angles, and you can go from isolation to complex. There's so many ways, and I know people want to simplify it for people, and so I'm not trying to make it sound complicated, but my point is, if you're just focusing on increasing your weight workout after workout or every couple workouts, that's a recipe for injury, because our body takes longer than that to adapt to loaded stress.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be very real here. I mean, most of us are not elite athletes. It is not our
Mm,
job to be fit or to be at peak performance. Like we have a lot
mhm,
of other responsibilities pulling us into a stressed out
mhm,
all the time. So it sounds like BFR is a very efficient way and safe
mhm.
way for women to train and actually expect to get results again.
Yeah, my wife started doing BFR after her second kid,
Okay.
and because she had no time, right? And and she swears by it. It's like it got her body back. She had abdominal issues after her second kid, and yeah, so it really is so efficient and safe, and a great way, and even for someone who's intimidated by strength training, you'll feel results very quickly. So it's a very positively reinforcing. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I've worked out for 2 months and I've barely noticed change. It's like you'll notice within a week or two, you'll already start to feel some change, because we tap into those type 2 muscle fibers so quickly, which a lot of time have been dormant for years. So it's a really positive. You start feeling empowered, which is a nice thing to feel.
Yeah, it sounds honestly, I'm very excited to hear about it. I'm very excited to try it and tell the listeners about it.
Yeah.
All the women in midlife I work about. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you think the women listening should know about BFR or about training in midlife that we didn't cover today?
I think we covered a lot. And I think, the one thing women get, there's so much information out there for midlife women that it can be so overwhelming. And there's also so many different opinions. And I recognize that this is like probably totally different from what someone else has heard. So they're like, what do I do? And I think my goal is to simplify,
Yeah.
help people just simplify what
Yeah.
they need to do. And then, if you can simplify, but still um, be getting some of the stimulus you need and get the recovery you need, but you can do it in a way that feels simple and doable. I feel like that's a great gift to give women who, like you said, are already overwhelmed, are already trying to do so many things, but they want to take care of their health. That's what I love about women in midlife now, is they truly want
Oh,
to take care of themselves, which is a shift. Think about our parents' generation. That wasn't the case.
yeah.
But now it's like, okay, how do you sift through all the information and all the things we're supposed to do? And so my goal is to simplify and help women do that successfully. And I would love, if you try my program, that would be amazing. I would love to figure out a way to, get some kind of special discount for your community, and do something together. I think that'd be really fun.
I'm gonna try. How long do you think I should? I mean, obviously, I'm a lifer fitness person, so pretty dedicated to things. But like, before I share how I feel about it, how long should I give it a shot for?
I'd give it 3 months.
Yeah,
You should know in a month, like how it's working for you. But especially since you're already pretty fit coming in, or really fit, it's going to take you a little longer
yeah,
to, like, some people get amazing results in the first month, but that's usually people who haven't been lifting that
right.
much. Right. So it's going to take a little longer. But so I think 3 months, you'll have a good sense of what it's doing for you.
I'm gonna make my wife do it. She's so good at it. Like, be like, guess what we're doing now? Like, she's a flight attendant, so she travels so much.
Oh my gosh.
For her to have consistency, and so this feels like something that is very doable, and it sounds
It
like you even take these things with you.
It is such a good tool for travel. I just got back from a 2-month trip, and I took my bands and tubing, and I could do 15-minute workouts 2 or 3 times a week and maintain my fitness. So
Oh,
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
that's really great. Thank you so much, Ashley. Now, yeah, now I need you to tell us, like, because 'cause I'm about to go there, but, like, how do we well, one, how in the world do we learn more about you? And then how, like, if we wanna try, BFR, if we wanna get the bands, if we wanna do the thing, where do we go?
Yeah. So my website is Seli Strength, SELI,
Okay.
SeliStrength.com. And you can find tons of information there, about BFR, about the bands, about me, about our program. I'm also on YouTube at Seli Strength. We're starting to do more content there. I'm on Instagram as well, but this topic takes so much education. We're doing more kind of YouTube longer form content. And you can contact me through my website. I mean, my email is Ashley at Seli Strength. I love hearing from people. I love answering questions. I do free consultation calls that are not at all a hard sales call. It's just like, is this right for you? Does this feel like a good fit? Let's talk about it. And so, yeah, so all those ways. And I would love to hear from anyone that's interested in learning more.
Okay, that's amazing. So I'm going to put all those links in the show notes for everyone listening. I know most of my clients, most of my listeners are big action takers, so they're going to go and click. Off you go. Go and click what I'm
Awesome.
going to do after this. Ashley, thank you so much. This has been really fascinating. And again, who doesn't love a more efficient way to do things in this?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Bria.
Yeah, thanks for how you serve women. I think that we need more of that.
Thank you.
All right, sisters, now have an amazing new tool to go and not overlearn about. Just go take an action. If it piqued your interest, if something here spoke to you, then go check out Ashley, check out her website, and see if this is something that can really benefit you in midlife and be more in your life and not just less on a scale. We'll catch you in the next episode.
If you're 35 plus and ready to stop guessing, start understanding your hormones, and feel your absolute best, hit subscribe. That's what we do here.